So 1986 comes out, the best year for thrash.
The year for thrash.
Slayer puts out and releases Rain and Blood, which, in my opinion, and pretty much everyone else, is considered to be the best thrash album of all time. I love Rain and Blood. I mean, there is nothing like that album. It's less than 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And it does not let up at all. It's some of the fastest thrash I've ever heard, still to this day. And I loved it, and I listened to it constantly. And I never forget, I remember buying the tape. Mm-hmm. And at first blush, I thought, like, oh, there's all these songs on it. And I realized it's the whole album on one side. And you can flip it over, and it'd be like the same album again. Love that album. New Slayer album coming out. South of Heaven. So I get the album. All right, here we go. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, well, it's going to get fast. It's going to get fast. And it never kind of does. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And then finally you go into Silent Scream, and then it starts to get fast. And then you got Mandatory Suicide. Dun, 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 and it's slow. And I'm like...
I like that we're calling that slow, like...
and the thing, and what I'm getting at is, I'll be honest with you, when South of Heaven came out, I was disappointed. What about you guys?
Not at all for me, man.
No,
like,
okay.
Like, my entree into Slayer was, like, all my friends were percussionists.
Yeah.
And so, because of Dave Lombardo, like, when Rain of Blood came out, they were like, I'd like to say I bought it, but I didn't. I got a copy of it on tape.
Yeah.
And so this was probably the first one that came out that I was able to buy when it came out. And again, yes, speed-wise, it's not there, but it's fucking just as bit heavy-hitting as anything they've ever done. And that's where I look at it as far as, like, is it heavy? Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
Like, the tempos aren't, like, the breakneck, like, thrash speed, but it is definitely one of the heaviest hitting records I own.
Well, they made the conscious decision of, like, Rain and Blood was the ultimate record, and they were never going to be able to top it. There's no way they could do better than Rain and Blood.
All right, well, hold on. Do you think they could have? Do you think they could have made a Rain and Blood 2?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I don't know. Probably not.
No.
I mean, that record is perfect. How do you top it? And that's what they realized, so they went the exact opposite.
Okay.
Of, like, we're going to slow it down. And, like, they broke it down, but that's where this is where Lombardo's, like, groove really comes out. If you, like, look underneath all of these songs, even the heavy stuff, I mean, his just big, fat groove is under there.
Yeah.
Which, to me, as a bass player at this time, I was like, that's what opened my eyes to Slayer.
Yeah.
Because Rain and Blood, honestly, I had friends that were way into it, but this is when I was in my Maiden days and all that stuff, and I was just like, I don't know, that's just a little fast. I don't know. The songs aren't there. Where's the, but...
All the solos on Rain and Blood is like...
Yeah.
It took a few years. I mean, this record was one that, like, popped for me. Then I went back to Rain and Blood and had a better appreciation, and then, yeah.
Chris and I have talked about it a bunch of times, too. Like, Lombardo is such a versatile drummer that, like, he has that groove. Like, the guy can, like, switch between... Well, we've watched him do it because we saw him on a Blade Runner tour with Bill Laswell and John Zorn, but, like, he can switch between, like, these deep pocket grooves to these thrash metal, like, riffs.
Yeah.
And like Chris was saying, you could slow this down even a little bit more, and there's, like, a pretty hardcore, like, groove to it.
No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love this album.
Look at myself.
I mean, it ain't like you have to. It's a groovy album. It ain't like you have to sell it to me, because the songs that are fat, like Ghosts of War,
classic.
like, it starts off where, like, I guess all the mids and lows are out of the, and it all of a sudden it kicks in and shit like that.
Yeah.
Heavily scooped.
That Live Undead, where it starts slow and it builds and it goes fast. Silent Scream is a fucking ripper.
Silent Scream's fucking awesome.
And actually, when it comes to the slower songs, I'm a big fan of Spill the Blood.
Spill
the Blood's on my regular playlist.
Mm-hmm. I wish they would. I mean, because to me, I always compared that song to Seasons in the Abyss, and I like Spill the Blood better.
I never really, like, pay attention as much to Slayer set list when I see them live, but you see Slayer a hell of a lot more often than I do live. Is that part of the regular set list?
They never play Spill the Blood. They always do.
Spill the Blood?
What they do, they do Seasons in the Abyss. Usually they do Dead Skin Mask into Seasons in the Abyss.
Right.
They brought back Spill the Blood.
Did they really?
Was it this last tour? It was one of the recent tours.
Okay.
They played it a few times, but yeah, they don't. But they hadn't played it forever.
Which, speaking thereof, we're gonna be Slayer's on the tour coming through Indy here in a few weeks. So
Next week.
It's the 15th. So
week after. The final indie show.
Yep.
And, well, to tell you what, I mean, it's like a lot of the metal thrash bands. They had a lot of them. They had a couple great albums, and then they all kind of
faded. Yeah.
Like
it's physical music, and that's where I tell you, like, have a career like the Slayers had.
Metallica changed when they did the Black Album. They no longer were a thrash band,
right?
And they I mean,
agreed.
I mean, they went on into essentially create whatever genre that shit is that they did with like Load and Reload. It's not my thing, but like you talk about like Megadeth. Like I was into Megadeth up until like Rust in Peace and maybe Symphony of the one after that. And I didn't buy anything after them. I mean, Anthrax, I gave up after.
Well, those like the Marty Friedman albums. Like after the Marty Friedman albums, I was like, eh.
But Slayer, like they never stopped making good stuff. You talk about Diablos. You talk about. There's still great fucking songs on those albums.
Right.
Like even until Repentless, they. And every time I go see Slayer live, they deliver the goods.
It's a fucking show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're like the headbang? Okay, so we'll play. They were doing something where it was like Postmortem into Black Magic into Hell Awaits, and it's just like my neck is killing me. But this album is awesome.
Take some lessons from Tom. Don't do that too much.
Yeah. And this came out in like I think 1988. And
yeah, that would have been right. Yeah, because I think I was born in '76, so I'd have been 12, and that's when I remember buying it.
But yeah,
and I mean, how great of a cover is that?
Yeah, I would say this is one of my favorite Slayer album covers as well.
I love it. But yeah, so,
also
like we have to
by Carrie.
Like we have to
Carrie fucking
King.
King.
You're friends with Carrie King.
Yep.
So I'm sure he's gonna watch this video.
Full transparency, right? Like you can't hate on the album.
Yeah. Hi, Carrie. But yeah, like I have to sell it to people. Like, well, if you want some good thrash metal, check it out. Slayer's something.
Have you heard of these new guys called Slayer?
No, you can like listen to it on Spotify. But no, this album is incredible. If there's anything I love about it, I love how more natural everything sounds. The drum. What I realize when it comes to like newer metal is everything sounds so processed. Mm-hmm. Like the drums are very clicky. The guitar just sounds like.
That's all Rick Rubin.
Yeah, I mean the drums like Rain and Blood has its own sound, but this you're talking about the drums that's a ride cymbal. That's you can hear the drums. The guitars sound like Marshalls. I don't know if they were using Marshalls at that point, but it's like they sound like a real band. You got Tom Araya doing the it's not doing some
right.
Yeah, Rick Rubin, really, that record has him all over it. The way the drums are, big and pushed out to the front a little more.
I'm serious. I mean, they're my favorite band and will always be my favorite band. So, yeah.
Glad we got to talk some Slayer, man.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's fun.
Yeah.
Records with Ray!
So how long are we going to keep these, end things going? Yeah, all right! No! Hey gang, this is Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more videos, please click on the subscribe button. And if you like what you see, please give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing Hawaiian shirts, well, when I'm not talking about records, I'm talking about my other love, Tiki. I have a show called Tiki with Ray. If you want to check that show out, just search Tiki with Ray on YouTube. It'll come up.